Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sugar Wars. My name is Mike, and here at Sugar Wars, we are dedicated to taking the fight directly to type 2 diabetes. I'm type 2 diabetic, as I've stated before. I have been for about 8 years now that I know of, and I have gotten my A1C down to normal levels. I'm still a diabetic, though. Um, I still am not fully understanding what it means to be in remission or to get rid of diabetes because I do have my sugar levels at a normal level, but all I have to do is take one bite of something that I'm not supposed to be eating, and my sugar levels will go straight through the roof. I am hoping someday that my diabetes will go away, that I will beat it, but that day has not come yet. So until then, uh, I have to keep working to keep fighting. Yesterday, I did a video on the importance of water and why everybody should be drinking as much water as you can to pull those toxins, to pull that sugar out of your bloodstream. Today, I am going to do a video here where we're going to watch a video by Dr. Berg, who I always find very educational. He's a great resource, especially on foods and health. You know, I'm the type of person that I find it hard to make changes, especially when it comes to foods, health, stuff like that. And when I do make the changes, it's always comes at a point where I understand why, where I understand the inner workings of something or why things are happening as they do. You know, we always hear people saying, try this diet, try that diet, and you could try it. And, I feel like we can't really be successful at something unless we know why that diet's working. Or, people will give me recipes for things I could eat. But what I found much, much easier for me and is like when I found out what things work, what foods work, what types of foods work, and then put my own foods together. So I'm not just relying on other people's information all the time. So this is a video that I found a while back. I'm going to share with you guys today, and we'll watch it together by Dr. Berg again. He shows one aspect of what sugar does to our bodies when we intake it. Okay. And, this is just one thing out of many that show why we should not be intaking the amounts of sugar that we are. We're not built to be intaking this much sugar that's packed into our foods. It's become normal. It's become normal to eat this so many carbohydrates, and we got to remember that carbohydrates turn directly into sugar. So when you're eating carbs, you want to look at what kind of carbs are you eating, because anything with like even white flour is a processed food. A lot of people don't even know that. It's a processed food, and it spikes your blood sugars rapidly. So if you're looking to cut back on your sugar intake, if you have to reduce your A1C, anybody that's pre-diabetic, if you're going to eat carbs, make sure it's whole grain. Everything whole grain carbs. Don't go for anything made with white flour. You need things with fiber. The more fiber in it, the more offset you're going to get on those carbohydrates. But I'm going to get into that on other videos because, it took me a while to understand if that whole net carb game works, where, they're adding fiber to all these carbohydrates, saying that it offsets it. And, I'm still actually studying it and experimenting with that whole net carb game. But today we're going to look at this video by Dr. Berg, and we're going to see the name of this video. It says, "You may never eat sugar again after seeing this." And honestly, after the first time I saw it, I never forgot it. And I do share this from time to time with friends and family so they can get an understanding of it. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to start it and we'll watch it together. Okay.
Or at least you'll dramatically cut down the amount of sugar that you
We
can.
started back from the beginning.
Warning, you may never eat sugar again after watching this video, or at least you'll dramatically cut down the amount of sugar that you consume. And I think everyone knows that sugar is bad. It affects almost every part of your body. It causes weight gain. But what I want to do is I want to just take one little thing in your body and talk about the effects of sugar on that one thing. And that is going to be the red blood cells. In fact, the red blood cell is how they measure your blood sugars, okay, and how they even diagnose diabetes through a test called A1C. A1C is a test that measures how much sugar is stuck to the red blood cell. When the red blood cell, or at least the protein part of the red blood cell called hemoglobin, is exposed to sugar, there's this chemical reaction or binding that occurs, and that's called glycation. So glycation is the amount of sugar that binds with that hemoglobin and that renders it inactive. It can't work anymore. And so based on how much sugar you have stuck to your hemoglobin can determine what your A1C is. So let's say, for example, you have an A1C of 5.7 or less. That would be considered normal. And so the term 5.7% just refers to you have 5.7% of the total amount of hemoglobin in your blood that is stuck to this sugar molecule. So if it's between 5.7% to 6.4%, you're a pre-diabetic. And when it gets over 6.4%, you're a diabetic. Now, what does all this mean in simple terms? Well, the red blood cell should normally be very, very flexible. It should be able to hold oxygen and carry oxygen to the tissues, and it shouldn't be very sticky. It should free flow and carry oxygen to the body and release the oxygen, and then also pick up the CO2 and bring that back into the lungs where it can be reoxygenated. So the more that this protein in your red blood cell gets stuck with the sugar, the more.
So this is what he's saying. Like, okay, the red blood cell, your veins are like the highways to your body. The red blood cells, okay, those are like the trucks that deliver all the food around the country or the supplies around the country. These red blood cells, they carry that oxygen to different parts of your body, and they stay when they're naturally flexible and mushy and at a microscopic level, so they could get through your veins. Okay, but when you're loaded up on sugar, when you got sugar in your bloodstream, these things can't move. Okay, and that's why you see a lot of these diabetics, or we have problems with our feet or the eyes or finger, because they can't get to they can't get the oxygen where it has to go, organs. Okay, so that's why a lot of this is so important.
your red blood cells are going to be stiff. It's going to be very, very sticky, and it's going to form clumps. And so that increases your risk of getting a clot. But when the red blood cell becomes stiff, it can't bend anymore. So what happens is the blood flows through your arteries into smaller arteries, and then tiny vessels called capillaries, they get stuck. Okay. And so we have the arteries that push the blood down to the end of your body, like the toes and the fingers. And that's where the capillaries are, that then kind of goes in reverse and becomes the venous system, the veins, and then brings the blood back up through the lungs to start this whole cycle over. So the arteries are filled with this red blood that's oxygenated. And then as we use the oxygen, the return blood flow to the veins are like a bluish red because they have less oxygen. But if your red blood cell is not flexible, if it's rigid, if it's stiff, it can't bend, it gets stuck in the capillaries, and then that starves off the tissues. And this is why a diabetic starts noticing tingling in the fingertips and usually the toes or the bottom of the foot. They start feeling an abnormal sensation like numbness or even pain or burning. What's happening is the blood cells are too stiff and they can't seem to get through the pipes.
And this will happen, okay, because it happened to me. This is not just something that, okay, some diabetics uh, happens to, or some pre-diabetics happens to. Okay, so with me, my red blood cells, especially in my left leg, were not returning the blood to my heart. So what happened was I got a lot of discoloring in my left leg. The skin is not strong. on the, down by my ankle and like my shin. Um, my all my cells and my nerves in my feet are damaged, so I experience like 24 hours a day. My feet are in pain. It feels like I'm walking on rocks, Lego sometimes. I don't, but then again, I don't have much feeling on the outside. Like if I was to put like a blow dryer full of heat on my feet, like just, blow the hot air at it, I won't even feel it. But on the inside, if I take my socks off, I feel just to have my socks off, even for any amount of time, it feels like basically I try to describe it where I, if you go outside in a foot of snow in bare feet and just stick your foot in that snow, all right, that's what my feet feel like without any kind of compression or socks on. My toes hurt. And for the last year and a half, I've had like what's it called, an ulcer on the bottom of my big toe on my left foot, right? So it's just a small, like there was a callus developed, like a small callus developed underneath my toe, and then underneath it formed like an open wound, and that open wound will not heal. So like when I can't even hardly walk that good because I can't put any pressure on my big toe, it's constantly hurting. And on top of that, that toe developed arthritis. So as this is what happened from years of not taking care of the diabetes or not doing anything about it. Okay, but I caught it too late. But once you damage those nerves, that's it. They're not coming back. So that's why it's so important that if if your doctor told you, your sugar is high, A1C is high, if you're experiencing symptoms like this, you need to get it checked and you need to do something about it now, because these things that happen, they happen for life. You damage your eyes, you damage your fingertips, your feet, whatever it is, your organs. That damage doesn't come back because it's tissue damage, it's nerve damage. Okay, let me just keep going with this. This isn't that long. It's like 13 minutes. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but after you get the whole gist of it, you could always go over to Dr. Eric Berg's page and check out some of the stuff he has, because it's really informative. It's really educational, especially for people that are battling type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes.
And then we starve off the tissues with oxygen, we starve off the nerves with oxygen, and they start to die. That is the first change that happens on the road to necrosis or gangrene, where the tissues actually die. And when the tissues don't get oxygen and they start dying, you start having an increase of unfriendly microbes, it's called pathogens, and unfriendly fungus. And so when you have gangrene, you have a lot of infection going on in the body, because certain pathogens thrive in this low oxygen environment. And this is where you get amputation when someone's a diabetic. It starts off as peripheral neuropathy where the nerves are affected, and then you get the ulcers, and then you start getting necrosis or dying tissue, and then gangrene, and they have to start to remove different sections of your foot, maybe starting with the toe or the ankle. Or
And one more thing, that's the thing. When they first told me I was diabetic, I knew, diabetics got amputations and stuff like that, but never in a million years did I think that I would fall into that type of category. Never. Had I known then, I would have did something about it then. I never thought that. I didn't take it serious. And luckily I did catch it and start fighting soon enough that I don't have to get anything amputated. But I am, when I did this happen with my big toe, when that ulcer formed, that small opening in like my skin, it did get infected, and there was a chance that I had to lose that toe. Even though now I deal with like arthritis in it, that's so painful that it's still healing. This thing is going to take probably like another year before it heals. It's already been like a year and a half. And that's how slow you heal at your extremities as a diabetic. So I never be in that category. So like people watching this right now, it looks like something, oh my God, other people, this is gonna happen. This will happen. You get that sugar under control. I can't say it enough.
whatever. So the effects of this interaction between sugar and this protein really messes up the red blood cell. It really brings down the red blood cell's ability to carry oxygen. It also reduces the volume of red blood cells. So think about this. If you're anemic, Normally people take iron or B12, but is it really going to work on top of this problem where your diet is very, very high in sugar, actually creating or causing the anemia, and then you take some iron? Is that going to really help you? The answer is no. Or another symptom related to not being able to carry oxygen, you're going to start climbing stairs and getting out of breath easier. You're going to have a hard time exercising because you're not going to have the wind or the oxygen. And so you're going to get tuckered out really fast. And so you're going to start taking things to stimulate your energy, like caffeine and things to boost your energy, when in fact, you just need to fix the red blood cell. So when these red blood cells can't fit through the capillaries, the other tissue that it affects is the eyes. This is why you have a higher incidence of visual problems, diabetic retinopathy, where you actually can go blind because you're basically starving off the nerves that the eye needs to function. I mean, think about what the retina is. It's the extension of your brain. It's all neurological tissue. And so it needs to be fed oxygen through the vascular system. But a lot of different problems with the eye are related to this issue of this sugar binding to this blood cell. And the term for it is called glycation. But you have negative effects to the retina. Okay. So that's going to be, you're not going to see as well. You're going to have problems like glaucoma, cataracts. You're going to have problems, macular degeneration. So here you are on a high carb diet, and you start to need glasses because you can't see. So you just keep getting thicker and thicker glasses, when in reality, you need to change your diet. Now, another area of the body that's affected is your gums. Your gums can be more susceptible to getting an infection. It's called periodontal disease. Okay. That is another complication of this.
Okay. So listen, you guys get the point. Okay. Go over to Dr. Eric Berg channel, check out his stuff. He'll help you out too. Okay. So, that's why I did the video yesterday on water, how important water is, how it pulls that sugar out of your body. Okay. And I'll be going over a bunch of recipes. I got some great desserts. I don't eat the fake sugars. I don't eat the equal and the sweet and low, all that stuff. That stuff's all chemicals. But I got a lot of good things I could show you guys for snacks and things to substitute. But, for people now, okay, if you've gotten that diagnosis, get out there, start fighting now before this stuff happens. And I promise you it will. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat or beat around the bush. It will happen. It happened to me. Okay, I'm only in my 40s. And here I am with all these feet problems, health problems, because I didn't want to get that sugar under control. Okay, guys, listen, that's enough for today. Go out there, okay, start walking, get that sugar reduced, okay, drink water, and I'm going to leave you guys with that. I'll probably see you guys again tomorrow with another video. My name is Mike, and this has been Sugar Wars for today, and we will see you again tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.